This is a series I've wanted to do for a while, explaining my top three or four anime, I'll just say for now. I might go to five, but for now, I'm just gonna stick with three or four. But the original incarnation of this was going to go through my 3x3 and discuss that. But the only issue is that my 3x3 changes all the time. Uh, Unlike, my top five, or my top five, the number 5 and 4 placements change a lot too. But, I think number 4 is pretty dead set locked in right now, but, especially 3x3 is just, changes anytime I watch a show I like, because, I've seen most of the shows that I would consider like a 6 or a 7 now. So, anything I watch, basically, at this point, goes on my 3x3, and I take something out. Like, my current 3x3 is not very stable, because I feel like right when I watch another show I like, Nana has been on the list for way too long in the first place. That's gonna land me on a list, and I should probably get it off. Uh, so, uh, but the thing is, that movie, the Nanaha first movie, I just really like putting that on my 3x3 so that to make people watch it so that they're like grossed out. I think I'm a terrible person. But that only happens like very occasionally. I think it's a pretty funny movie in general, so that's why it hasn't been taken off. But yeah, my 3x3 is very flexible. The current picks are Gurren Lagann, which the last time I watched Gurren Lagann was like 2 years ago, so it's probably going to change very soon. Karikano, Nanaha, A Silent Voice, Dead Leaves, and then the 4 that I'm gonna make videos on. I might make a video on either Karikano or Dead Leaves, but I don't know if I have that much to say about either. So I'm starting with my favorite anime of all time, K-On! Now I know it's almost like a cliche for the anime YouTuber's favorite show to be K-On! It's like K-On! And Ava are the two like most frequently favorited shows, unless you go into like the shonen trash section of AniTube, which I'm not saying shonen is trash. I'm sure there's some good shonen shows out there. I've just never seen one before. But I do believe that there is probably a good shonen show. I don't like putting every show in a genre into a box, but you get to like the For Never World sections or whatever when all the it becomes like Naruto and a One Piece. But yeah, for like the snobby ego-driven anti-tubers like me, it's typically K-On! Or Ava. And I haven't seen Ava in way too long. I barely remember anything about Ava. So I definitely need to rewatch that. but yeah, K-On! It's been 5 minutes, and I have not said a word about the show, besides a lot of people like it. But yeah, there are countless videos on YouTube explaining why K-On! Is so great. And the odd thing about K-On! Is that really it's my favorite anime of all time, but I can't really recommend it. I mean, I can recommend it to people, but I have to preface with, like, you will probably hate the show during the first few episodes. Because if you're not into, like, the first few episodes of K-On! Are pretty, like, generic moe schlock. They only become really good if you've seen the rest of the show. But I always say, like, I promise you, once you get to the end of season 1, you'll understand why you'll want to watch the whole show. Which is, me and Celery Demon are planning on doing a big video thing for our show, The Autist and the Elitist, where the finale episode is going to be about K-On! We're going to watch K-On! All of it. We're going to do a 24-hour marathon of both seasons of K-On! In the movie. This video is going to... The entry in the K-On! Franchise that is in my favorites list is Season 2. That's my personal favorite of all K-On! Media. K-On! Season 1 is pretty good. I gave it a 7 out of 10 when I first watched it. It's not really good unless you watch Season 2, which, if you finish Season 2, then Season 1 basically automatically becomes a 10. Season 2 is the best, my favorite anime of all time, and then the movie is really great as well. I feel like the K-On! Movie, a lot of people like to write the K-On! Movie off as, like, inessential viewing, but I think it's very important to fully understanding the narrative of K-On! And then K-On! Ura-on. It's pretty good. But I'm just gonna use this video to talk about all of the K-On! Franchise. K-On! Season 1 is pretty alright. The first few episodes, when I first watched the season, the first few episodes I thought were, like, the best ever. Because at the time, this was, like, the first moe anime I ever watched. Which is the only reason... Okay, K-On! I personally prefer dub. The sub is definitely better, for sure. The voice acting is way, way better, as is literally every anime, except for, like, a few that are on par, and then Pokemon. But I watched the show originally dubbed, because of course I did, because I was, like, 10, and this was one of the first anime I had ever seen, and I thought that it was, like, the greatest thing ever. This show also really got me into shows about girls, which is, like, all I watch now, because, why watch a show about boys if you can watch a show about girls? But, I thought that it was, like, crazy good. It was, like, my favorite thing ever. And then it kept going, and I was like, whoa, this show just keeps getting better! And also, to touch back on the dub thing, at, like, about episode 8, I think, I decided I will try out the sub to see if it's any good. And the subtitles were like, these aren't as fluently English as these don't have as fluent of English as the sub, as the dub. Therefore, it must be worse. But K-On! Season 1, I feel like I'm kind of undermining the first few episodes. Episode 1 is pretty bad. It's, I mean, the animation, is stunning, and the art is incredible, obviously, because it's K-On! But when it comes to, like, the actual narrative and the comedy and everything, it's not that good. It's not very, it's not too entertaining. It's, like, mildly okay. But if you just watch that, and then I can imagine someone dropping it on episode 1 just under, it's just another generic moe show. Which is why I feel kind of bad almost when I drop generic moe shows. Nowadays, like, Iro Dori Midori, I watched episode 1 and then I was like, no, this is the most boring garbage ever. And then I just never watched it again. But, I almost felt like, well, I mean, you know, K-On! Episode 1 wasn't that good. Maybe I need to finish the season. And you know what? If season 2 comes out and everyone says it's the best show ever made, I'll watch it. I digress, however. K-On! Season 1, Episode 1 isn't great, but the first time I watched it, it like blew me away. Because I was like, what? Nihon and Girls? Best show ever made! And, I was like, I was talking to Dietrich about it. That's my favorite part of me and Dietrich's old chat logs. I'm gonna try and get those out, here. If you'll allow me. That was right at the time. I had a VPN that didn't allow me to watch K-On! On Netflix, which, don't watch K-On! On Netflix. Period. Don't watch any anime on Netflix. So they haven't put K-On! On any streaming service. And I don't feel comfortable asking my grandma for a non-action anime. So I have to resort to this. Oh my god. This is so... And I was watching it on Kiss Cartoon. Not even Kiss Anime. Kiss Cartoon. Anyways. Moving on. Yeah, you can see here. I was complaining about how mean Ritsu was, which is really funny. This show's so great. It takes a bit to pick up the speed, but when it does, it's one of the best animes I've ever seen. I'll watch episode 2 when I'm done with my math homework. How do I do the math homework? I don't know. But yeah, so I finish... I keep watching season 1, and by the end, I've cried, and it's my favorite show ever made. I was like, this is the greatest anime ever. And then I went on to Mal and gave it an 8. But yeah, I gave K-On! Season 1 an 8 out of 10 because I had this idea of I'm gonna give K-On! Season 1 an 8, and then Season 2 a 9, and then the movie a 10. Which I did for a while, and then I was like, this is dumb. This doesn't reflect my actual opinions, so I just rescored them all a 10. Because, 10 out of 10 show. It's K-On! What are you gonna say? And then Season 2 was just crazy. I watched the first few episodes of Season 2 and I was like, this is the best ever. And then, after that, I started being a little bit wary because a lot of the episodes in Season 2, I can understand the argument that people make sometimes of saying that Season 2 is not as good as Season 1. Because Season 2 has a lot more filler. There's a lot less episodes that are just, straight, getting to the point, narrative. And Season 1 is a very concise narrative. There aren't very many episodes with filler. But Season 2 has loads of filler, heaps of filler. And, K-On! By no means is a perfect show. Because there's no perfect show. I will cite it's not a perfect show for one reason and one reason alone. The sweat episode. The episode where the whole time it's just too hot in the club room. It's too hot that day, and it's just complaining about how hot the weather is. And that's the whole episode. That episode isn't very good. That's probably my only big issue with K-On! Aside from episode 1 being fairly generic. But episode 1's a lot better once you watch the rest of the show. But moving on. There's a lot of episodes like that in Season 2, and that led me to believe, well, it's not quite as good, because Season 1 was extremely emotionally resonant. And there weren't as many episodes in Season 2 at that point that I had seen that gave me that same emotional resonance as the final episodes of Season 1 did. But then as I kept going, I kept enjoying Season 2 more and more, and then I did a marathon of the last 15 episodes, and not 15, 10. And they just kept getting better one after another, and then I got to episode 20. And at the time, I thought episode 20 was a bit underwhelming, because I expected episode 20 to be a lot more, I expected it to make me cry a lot more, which I'll get to later on. I'll get to the second part of my story with episode 20 later on, but at the time I was, fairly underwhelmed. And then, I watched the finale, and it made me cry loads, and I was like, this show is amazing, it's the best. Now I have to watch the movie. And so I watched the movie, and I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen in my life. There's nothing that could possibly ever top this. And I'm trying to think, has there been a movie that's... No, I think K-On! The movie is still my number one favorite movie of all time. Because the K-On! Movie is kind of the ultimate culmination of everything I like about K-On! I personally prefer Season 2 as a whole more, due to how, Season 2 has a lot more episodes that have, just, stuck with me forever. Season 2, episode 20, I think, is better than anything in the movie, but the movie is much more of a tight experience, obviously, because it's a movie and not a 24-episode season. So, the movie was amazing, because the movie doesn't really have that many flaws generally. I'm trying to think of one right now. I can't think of any. I'm sure I could come up with one if I rewatched it, which I've I don't know how many times I've rewatched the K-On! Movie. It's probably like 4 or 5 times now. And so basically, if you don't know, the movie revolves around the creation of their song for Azusa, which is obviously in what the finale is based around as well. But the thing that makes the movie a lot more special is the performance of the song includes a montage of them making the song, which just instantly makes it way more impactful and emotional. And I think about a month later, I took a trip to LA, in which I flew on a plane. And if you know the other plot of the K-On! Movie, it's them going on a plane trip to London. And the movie, I feel like added a lot to that plane trip. In terms of how much, like, nostalgia and happiness that I feel towards that trip comes from my viewing of the K-On! Movie from when I flew to LA. And I watched the movie, and then I fell asleep, and I woke back up, and I looked out the window, and I swear to God, I must have been hallucinating, because I saw a patch of land that was in the exact shape of Yui Hirasawa's head. And I was like, okay, maybe I need to maybe I need to tone down on my K-On! Obsession a little bit. But that was kind of the basis for the entire trip. When I was the K-On! Soundtrack, Ichiban Ipai, was playing in my head as I was walking through the airport. It was so amazing. Great experience. Highly recommend it. Whenever you go on a plane trip in the future, watch the K-On! Movie on the plane. But that added a lot more emotion attached to the movie. And that's like a tradition now. Every time I go on a plane trip, I watch the K-On! Movie while I'm on the plane. And then one night, I was feeling really sad and lonely. So I decided to watch K-On! Because I hadn't seen it in a while. And so I decided I'll just marathon K-On! It's fine. And I got to season 2, episode 20. And it wasn't even like the final scene that started making me cry. It was before that, when Yui is performing You and I. And I was reading the lyrics, and it was already making me cry. And then, after that, obviously the big scene cut came up, and I just completely lost it. I was crying for like 20 minutes after the episode had already ended, and there was snot all over my bed. It was pretty cool, and I feel like K-On! Also gave me a lot of appreciation for the concept of friendship in general. 'Cause I challenge you to watch all of K-On! Up to season 2, episode 20, and then watch that episode, and try not to want to, like, give all your friends a hug or something. It's impossible. It's so, it's such an emotionally resonant episode when it comes to friendship. And I rewatched the K-On! Movie like a week later when I went on another plane trip, and that movie made me cry a bunch on the plane. And that trip, I was even more obsessed with K-On! I think that was the Arizona one. And I took my K-On! Blu-ray with me, and I went on like a tweeting spree about how much I loved Yui. And that entire trip, the two main things I would use to describe that trip are K-On! And the biggest problem in the universe. Those were the two main things that I was doing that whole trip. I was just texting Celery Demon about how cute Yui is. And that was like basically my only social interaction on that entire trip. And it was amazing. That's all I needed. And so I think that's my full K-On! Story. My final message would be appreciate your friends while they're there. And be a K-On! Stay calm, Desu Daddy.